Welcome to The Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to The Social, and host of The Social's digital series, Mom Life Crisis, our very own Kate McKenna joins us. Okay, why don't we dive into this? Because Ontario Premier Doug Ford, he is maybe something you never expected, maybe starting a fashion trend. A fashion trend. Canada is not for sale hats. So I don't know if you know this, they have been flying out of the website, just flying off the shelves. Ford was wearing it when he arrived at a meeting between the premiers and the Prime Minister in Ottawa recently. So what do we make of this hat and the message behind it?
Can I be honest? I want one of those hats. I'm gonna And I'm gonna tell you, the student has become the teacher. This is right out of the Donald Trump playbook. And you know Donald Trump likes to take credit for things that he didn't do? This is something he actually could take credit for and be like, hey, Dougie, you're welcome. Because what do you do when all the bad stories are about you and you're trying to distract people? Well, you come up with something, some other distraction, and you get everybody over here. Because if you think about it, no one's talking about Doug Ford and that Greenbelt fiasco. No one's talking about the Ontario Science Centre fiasco. No one's talking about the guest list at his daughter's wedding. No one's talking about that.
Yeah.
All we're talking about is the fact that he seems to be the leader, and the timing of our Prime Minister resigning just last week, where Canadians are feeling like, who's our leader? Who do we look to? And there's Dougie, chest up, awkward smile, hat on, going, we're not for sale, America. This is brilliant, to the point where I'm like, this is what you do to change the narrative as a politician.
Ah,
to the point where it's
interesting.
working on me, and I know better.
See, the funny thing is, you say that you think Trump will say you're welcome. I think he'll say, I created that trend and I want to cut. Don't you feel like that is
He'll
very
put a tariff
Donald
on
Trump?
that.
Do you think it's going to
Terrifying.
backfire? Do you think it's going to backfire and tick off Trump?
I don't think Trump cares.
No.
He'll be like, look at what people in Canada are doing. I don't think he truly cares. I don't want a hat. I really like the United...
Not even a little bit?
No. But if I did get one, I'd get one that fits. Poor Dougie. Just a little too small.
Yeah.
But like, I'm all here for this United Team Canada approach. Like, I really, it's so refreshing to me. I remember Doug Ford sat down with Dominic LeBlanc, who's our Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs Minister, the other day. And he came out of that meeting and he used the words to describe Canada's tariff plan as phenomenal. He said, this is a solid plan. I have never in my lifetime heard politicians from different parties speak so glowingly about each other. So I really like...
Almost all. We've got Danielle Smith, the outlier, who was not on board with any of this. She will not be wearing... Alberta Premier Danielle Smith.
Almost all, I should say. But you bring up a good point. Like, all the premiers, almost all, met with Justin Trudeau. They came out. Doug Ford is saying things like country first. So I like the Team Canada approach. For me, the reason I won't be buying this merch is because my relationship with the Canadian flag has changed.
In what way?
Well, when I was growing up, I loved the flag. I have family members who immigrated to this country, and they love what that maple leaf stands for.
Okay.
Now, when I drive through my community every weekend, there's a bridge in our town, and it is full of Canadian flags, people from the F. Trudeau movement holding vile signs of doctored photos of Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland. And I have to explain to my kids what's going on.
Oh, that's
so for
horrible.
me, the flag has been co-opted in a way that while I love the message, I don't love the merch.
Well, could this eventually turn that around? Is that the positive spin, that maybe this kind of pride? And listen, I got my own issues with this, but just as a floating idea, like, could this start a groundswell of, like, maybe reframing?
Rebranding and getting back to what it was. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I love the hat. Wow. I can't believe I'm saying it, right?
Me either, but I said it with my whole chest.
Here I am. And I'll tell you why. There's a saying out there that nothing unites humans quite like a common enemy. And what has happened is, in a divided country, we're having left versus right. That's not just an American problem. That's a Canadian problem as well. And for the first time in a long time in my life, everyone is Team Canada. And whether or not it's just the premiers and the Prime Minister getting together, but this hat is so symbolic of a moment right now. And we have to approach it this way, because not only is Trump coming into office and promising these tariffs, he's actually shown us he did it it to us before. The last time was March 2018. He says, I'm going to put 25% tariffs on your steel. He did it. I'm going to put 10% tariffs on your aluminum. He did it. He's not bluffing. Folks, this is not a drill. We have to get ready. The fact that it is Premier Doug Ford leading the charge because we have a lame duck prime minister, I'm sorry to use those words, it sounds so mean.
No, he's on his way out.
He's on his way out. Who is coming in to say, Team Canada, protect us? Danielle Smith, get on board.
No. Listen, I love the idea of a unified Canada, and I think that that's the right move. I don't like the idea of this merch, and I'll tell you why. For the exact same reasons that you said, it is a page out of Donald Trump. He used the same font, for example. And the thing is, it's
such good trolling.
It's not trolling, though. I think it's actually him just being literally picking up the playbook. Oh, I'm a politician who is known for what some criminal behavior. He is under investigation still by the RCMP. Doug Ford is. Let's not take our eye off that.
But no one's talking about that today.
No one's talking about that. But that's a Donald Trump play. It's like, oh, you're accusing me of doing criminal activity? Look over here. I'm going to distract you with taking over Canada. He literally, that is his playbook. So do not take your eye off the prize. We can hold two things at once. We can want a united Canada and also hold our politicians to account and watch them when they're doing political maneuvering, trying to
but I think the eye is already off the prize. But we're going to move on to another topic. A new study out of the UK found that office small talk is becoming less common, particularly among younger generations. 74% of Gen Z adults say they struggle with light conversation around the water cooler. So is small talk an important skill? What do you guys think? Yeah. Right?
Nope.
You say no.
No.
Come on, Boots.
Listen.
Come on, Boots.
Gen Z, I love Gen Z. And I love Gen Z. Yes. And I love you guys because you have the courage to rewrite norms that exist for no reason. I didn't, as a millennial, I didn't have the courage to rewrite those norms. I just did what I was told. Here you have Gen Zers coming in. They're like, mental health matters to us. I want to have choice about where I work. I want to have work-life balance. And here we are with our misplaced priorities, telling them they need to be better at talking about traffic and the weather?
I don't know. Okay,
sorry.
I think it sounds great. Gen Xers, just go like this for 2 seconds, just 2 seconds. Gen Xers, by the way, you are 13 to age 28. Gen Z, you are 13 to 28. You know what else coincides with that? The rise of online life. So Facebook, it was invented or came out in 2004. We are now 20 years plus of social media. And what have we seen in all of the studies? The same rise in social media is also the decline in mental health and in things like face-to-face interaction. What if the reason why they're so they have such a hard time with small talk is because they haven't been face-to-face, and the fix is face-to-face?
Yeah. The security,
that's the fix.
That phone is a security blanket whenever you're in a situation where you feel uncomfortable.
I love you. Let's get together, coffee, face-to-face, okay?
We love you, sisters, but it's about to get uncomfortable for you. We're going to have small talk about you. Listen, I feel like that phone needs to be smacked out of a lot of young people's hands because it's preventing them from actually communicating and seeing what's going on. And I get it. Sometimes you're in an awkward situation by yourself. You don't know what to say, so that phone just comes out and you just start scrolling. But you're missing out on something. Listen, I was brought up by the king and queen of small talk. And when I was a kid, it annoyed me because I was like, can we just go, who is this stranger? But as I became an adult, I realized it is imperative to have that skill. First of all, some people just have an idea about you because, sometimes some of us have a resting face, not gonna call names, right? And then as soon as you open your mouth for that small talk, people see you and they're like, oh, I thought you were such and such, but you're actually quite nice, Kate. Right? Then there's also that wall is brought down. Also, the communication. I made small talk just recently on a flight back from Vegas with my seatmate. I'm just like, how's it going? Did your flight get canceled?
Nightmare.
She's like, yeah.
My nightmare!
Right? Let me tell you about small talk. She informed me that I was owed thousands of dollars by the airline because of our delay. So thank you very much, small talk.
Okay, that's good. Here's what I'll say. Here is the fix. Here's the tweak. Let's stop talking about traffic and weather and let's start getting into some real conversations. Like that.
Wait, what's a real conversation?
I'll tell you what I did once. I'm not suggesting this exact real conversation, but I went once to a wedding where I didn't know a lot of the people. I was sitting there with Jason, so we're getting to know each other. Within, I'd say, 15 minutes, I brought up circumcision. What's your opinion on this? Let's have interesting conversation.
How to do it. She's teaching you how to do it.
I wouldn't say necessarily do that at a work event, but I have to work conversations that are like, you can dive in. This actually is the skill that we actually need to learn, to have respectful debates with people on topics that are a little bit uncomfortable.
Oh, look at us.
You're
By the way,
Oh, go.
you can get a career out of it.
So reality stars Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag are among the thousands of people who lost their homes in the LA wildfires. The two have been documenting their emotional journey all over social media. Now Spencer has revealed on TikTok that they're pursuing a TV series about how they're going to rebuild. So do we think this is understandable, or is it a bit opportunistic?
I think it's not only understandable, I think it's genius.
Really?
Yeah. I think when you lose everything, who am I to judge what you do next? And I think for some families that would look like moving, mourning, staying low key. For some families, that may mean looking at the tools you have in front of you and figuring out how to use those tools to better your family. In their case, their tools are the 3.2 million followers they have on TikTok.
Yeah.
And so why not use that to their advantage? And to me, what was so smart about it is they weren't asking for GoFundMe donations because they would be hammered for that.
Yeah.
They asked for people to stream Heidi's song from a decade ago that didn't do particularly well a decade ago. That's a low lift for people. That's an easy way for so many of us who want to help. And now that song has shot to #1 on the iTunes chart and has prompted this potential show. So especially with TikTok maybe disappearing this coming Sunday in the US, I think this was really smart.
And I'm going to tell you something. I actually fully agree with you. And I really have historically really disliked Spidey, as a lot of people know them. They're back from the show Laguna Beach, The Hills.
Did you watch
some
them?
of you,
Did you
watched
watch
both of them.
And the after show.
I loved all of it. And so what I didn't like about the show was Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag. And so the fact that I have such a disdain for them, but when I watched the interview that Spencer just did with TMZ, where he is in tears and he's like, I have no choice. I have to provide for my family. You have to understand that even for people you hate, they're human. And so I think that if my dad always says, if you go to battle, bring your weapons. And the only weapons they have is to leverage. And this is a transaction. Like you said, the GoFundMe, that would feel icky. But they are saying, we're going to work for our money. And what a brilliant, no one's telling you have to watch, but they want to do it to earn a paycheck. Fair game.
Me and Cynthia are not on board with this one. For me, it's three things. It's tone deaf, it's tacky, and it's not gonna work. So let me go with the first one. It's tone deaf because if it was just their house that burnt down and people were like, oh gosh, we feel bad for them, let's buy her song and be different. 180,000 people have lost their homes and all of their belongings. People have died. This is not exactly the time. It's great that this is happening, but it's not the time to capitalize on your chance to get back on television. And that's why I think it's tacky. It's like, you're so desperate. You're an able-bodied man who can do a lot of different jobs. You don't just have to
I don't think he actually has a lot of skills. No, I don't.
He doesn't want to do other jobs.
I don't think he has a lot of other skills.
Listen, he can lift a hammer, he can put a nail into a piece of wood.
Do that? This man is an expert in content. Mel said he was a villain. He cast himself as a villain on that show to keep him on the show.
And I'm going to tell you why it's not going to work. You just made my point.
He could become a politician. Sorry.
I was a huge fan of that show, and it was an ensemble show, and the reason why they were so special is because they were the villains. They need people to play off of. It's not going to work. No one really wants to watch season after season of just these two who are in lockstep with each other and everything they do. We need some opposition. We need Lauren in there. We need
the opposition was the fire that wiped out their house.
No, that's the sad part. We need a constant fight. I watch all these Housewives. I watch all these shows. You need someone to always be in there causing the drama.
This is unprecedented,
if they don't have that person to play off of, there's no show. I'm not watching.
I'm just surprised you think it's not going to work, given what we've already seen on TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok's one thing.
I think it will work. I think I don't know who these people are. I will not be watching. I will not be participating. But I think it probably will work for them. I guess there is something gross about it, though. There was something that popped up on my timeline on Instagram, which was a man who literally apparently was a pillar of his community. He was not well off. He was not part of the Hollywood elite. And he lost everything. And he was somebody who would always go and do charity work and all this. So he was crying as he was showing his home. Some of you saw this as well. And so there was a GoFundMe set up for him, and people donated. And that, to me, it felt like the right move and for the right type of demographic. I guess what we're wondering about is it fair to reach for the exact same level of wealth after you've lost everything? Or is there an option for him to like move to Wisconsin and live in a small thing and still provide for his family? I don't know the answer to that. That's something for you to look for inside yourself. But the timing, especially given the global
He could do other jobs. He can drive a bus. He can put together a log cabin. There's other things that he can do.
And we'll see it on the show. And we'll see it on the show.
I'll be watching.
All right, we're gonna move on. So do you guys know who Gerard Butler is? Okay. Well, he is a man who is apparently... I didn't realize he was such a thirst trap. He's a man who's apparently living his purpose. The actor told People that it felt right to leave law and pursue acting. So do you guys think we all have a purpose?
Yeah! I don't know. I don't know if that's the right thing to be focusing on. Obviously, my thing is pleasure, and I think we all have to find what brings us pleasure and joy.
So we should be focused on our orgasms?
Maybe partially. I mean, pleasure in a bigger sense. But it's interesting. Liz Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, I saw her recently speak in Toronto, and one of the stories, she told amazing stories, but one of the stories she talked about was this idea of find your purpose and how she thinks it's BS. She's just like, stop focusing on it, because even people who've so-called found their purpose, they often stress out of like, have I done enough? Have I left enough of a legacy? And like, they're constantly chasing for figuring this out. It can cause a lot of stress, and it's connected to patriarchy and capitalism in a way. Anyway, I'll just tell this quickly, that she said one day she was in LA and she was walking around and she happened to notice this man in front of his store on a ladder that was kind of rickety. She kind of noticed, she was like, what, this guy's gonna fall. And so she went just sort of casually and she stood there for 45 minutes and held this while he did this job. Well, that's what she walked away afterwards, and she was like, what if that was my life's purpose? What if that's all it was?
Lady, you were just in the right place at the right time.
I know. I will say, do you think, I mean, good for her, and I really like her work. I do think there's a very Western thing to this, because there's so many other cultures and countries in the world where it would be a privilege to believe that you have a purpose that you need to fulfill. For a lot of people, just getting through the day is the success.
I think
just
that's
getting
the
through
point.
the month
I think that's
is a success. And I think the idea of finding your purpose, you see a lot of people, there's an Instagram account that I follow. It's a guy by the name of Aaron Murphy, and his account is @Murph's Life. And he's a white American man who got stuck in Central America during COVID. And he realized these people have nothing. His new quote unquote purpose is building schools and homes and helping people start businesses. And he says, this is my purpose. And yet the very people he interviews that he's helping who have nothing say, we are very, very happy. Without a lot, we have each other. So the idea of purpose is like this, to your point, kind of, there's a very Western feel to this idea of purpose, when really should we just be chasing happiness?
See, I don't know. Listen, those are all valid points, but this story made me think about a girlfriend of mine. She always wanted to be a nurse. Like when she was a little girl, she was always like, you know, walking around trying to check people's hearts and stuff, and it was always her desire. But her father created this wonderful, very successful business. And so it was expected in her family that she and her brother and sister should take over this company. She still wanted to be a nurse, and she did not pursue her purpose in taking care of people because she had that family expectation that this is what she has to do. And she's a grown woman, she's married, she has children, she's a president of her father's company, and still, in her heart, there's a purpose where she feels that she should have been helping people in a different way. So I think you can have a purpose. I think you absolutely can.
Interesting.
I think finding a purpose is like finding a soulmate. Neither of them exist.
Sonny, talk to me about her hands.
Yeah, they're plain but short, manicured. Rough beds, though, kind of like yours.
Whoever she dressed up for, she must have really loved him.
Whoever she dressed up for is our most likely suspect.
The show. Well, that was a clip from the gripping second season of Sight Unseen. It's a CTV original series about a homicide detective and seeing eye guide who become unsuspecting crime-solving partners.
Here to tell us more about the season 2 premiere are the stars of the show, Dolly Lewis and Agam Darshi. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for joining us on the couch. All right, listen, detective stories have been around for a very long time. Why do you think this genre has stood the test of time?
Oh my God.
Big question to start off with.
It's just that chemistry, right? Between like the buddy cops and the people who are trying to solve the crimes, and you're really on their side and you're rooting for them. So I think that's a huge part of it. And that's something that we really play into, I think, on this show, is that like chemistry between these two characters.
And you do it so well too. Your character Tess is clinically blind, and that adds a level of complication to this character.
A little bit.
Yeah, and both you and the show's creator have visual challenges. So how did you collaborate to ensure that what was on screen felt authentic?
Yeah, Kat Trubetskoy, who's one of the showrunners, also has issues with her sight, and she shared with me that she and Nico, the other showrunner, met with the National Institute of the Blind, excuse me, and found that a lot of people from that community who had watched the show said, we have this thing that a lot of people with sight loss go through called Charles Bonnet syndrome, and a lot of people don't know that that's something we deal with. So you should include that in the show. And they were like, that's a great idea. Yeah, we'll do that. Wow. So that's something I encounter. So getting direct feedback like that is really special and important for that.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, Agam, your character, Sunny, is an agoraphobic vision guide. You spend most of your time at home in isolation on the show.
Yeah.
So, therefore, what makes your character so relatable?
You know what? I mean, we all went through COVID, right? And I think being alone is more accessible now than ever, right? We all have apps, we're on our phones, to the point where I've talked to people and they're like, I actually had to tell myself to leave the house because I kind of forgot.
Yeah. Wow.
After a few days, you're at home for a while, and you forget that you actually need some fresh air because it's so easy. You have Uber Eats, it's just so like easy. The food comes to you, and it's just like, you know. So I think in that way it's very relatable. But I also I know somebody very close to me who was agoraphobic for a while, and it's a really difficult, challenging, mental
that sort
health.
of fear of social situations.
And it's very, very accessible and relatable to a lot of people, I think.
Well, the show is it's wonderful, it's engaging, and you're very playful. We want to play a game, and it's called What Should Remain a Sight Unseen.
It might be called competitive.
Okay.
Are you competitive with each other?
Yeah, she usually wins.
This is that scenario, and you're going to pick the one that should remain a sight unseen, okay? You're going to use your paddles. Do you have paddles here?
We have paddles.
Yes.
You're going to choose A or B, starting with?
Yeah, I have the first one. All right, so the inside of your purse, or B, the inside of your car?
Oh.
I know, it's embarrassing, the state of my car.
Is it because you have kids?
I have kids. Well, the thing is that even before, like all my life, university, my car was just like an embarrassment.
Your purse is a problem?
I mean, I live in New York, so I don't really have to deal with a car. But yeah, I wouldn't open my purse for anybody.
Okay, I really like this next one. So what should remain sight unseen? A, your Google search history, or B, your text message history?
That's an easy one.
Where are you going?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, quickly, we're going to squeeze this one in. What should stay sight unseen, your credit card statement or your medicine cabinet?
Credit card. We're definitely partners in crime.
Do we time for this? I'm going to do it. Okay. What should remain a sight unseen? Your Spotify Wrapped, or B, your takeout food history?
My Spotify what?
I don't know.
What is songs you listen to the most in a year?
Your history on Spotify.
I mean, like, there's some cheesy stuff.
Yeah, some throwbacks that should stay in the past.
Okay, so Agam, thank you so much. Sight Unseen Season 2 airs Monday, January 20th at 10 p.m. on CTV, so make sure you check that out.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.